So first of all, women today. I was brought up in the church. But in the church, there were certain men, whether it was because of their looks or something about their personality. I got a cousin who ran through the women in my church, the youth group. Ran through them. He ran through a bunch of the women in the church. Got one of them pregnant. Okay. And I'm crying in that because I just got up. Just woke up. And I woke up and I saw this video of this guy talking about this 46-year-old woman, and she was very pretty and all like that, but she was acting like a child. And she was talking about men talking to her in bars. And that's the thing, like, coming up with my disabled mom, which was a very beautiful woman. She died when I was like on the verge of my 16th birthday. She was diabetic, and she was wearing medical supplies on her body because her intestines weren't operating correctly. She had no control over her intestines. So she was a beautiful woman that was disabled, and she got around on a walker. Her limbs weren't working right either. And all like that. But that didn't keep men from men looking at her, whether it was because of lust or whatever it was. That didn't keep men from looking at her and wanting to go to, another level, with her, wanting the friendship to go somewhere else, go to another level. Men that would come to the house, jitney drivers, maintenance men, men from church and different things, friends of relatives. People wanted my mother. My mother wasn't a bad looking woman, even though she was very small. She's short like me. Very fluffy, a fluffy kind of a woman. She wasn't, tight and tight, but she was fluffy and bouncy, and she wasn't fat. She was kind of thick, but she wasn't fat, especially near her death. I've seen her weight go up and down. During her death, she wasn't holding in a whole lot of food. Her food would immediately come out of her bowel immediately. A lot of times, depending on what she ate. And so she wasn't really able to gain weight near her death. And I've seen her big. But as she got sick, she actually started looking like what she looked like in her high school pictures, her high school graduation pictures and stuff like that. My mom was very, very, very shapely in her young years, but diabetes got a hold of her at a very, very young age. My mom died, like I said, right before my 16th birthday, and men, including my dad, were still checking her out, wanting to get with her. And she had certain men that she really, really looked up to. My mom didn't look up to no bumps. My mom didn't like, bums. And some of the men that my mom was interested in, they had wives, or they had women that they were living with or whatever. And my mom, as a Christian, was like, okay, well, let's stop there then. Like, let's not go any further with this. But she was always showing herself available to a certain extent if they didn't have another woman on the side, Never seen the bar hopping, guy chasing, a woman that stands around waiting for guys to come and approach her. I never seen that in my mom. And we look at this dating world today, and it's like, I never understood the going out thing. Okay? I understand how men and women communicate. I understand that. And I understand the need to make friends and all like that. I don't understand how women go out and think that just because they're pretty and they look good in their clothes, that a man like, it just dazzles me. Like, a woman will go out and she'll do something crazy, like go to a bar all by herself, sit at a bar in some skimpy outfit or something. First of all, one woman goes out by herself in a dress that says, I'm out. I'm going out, even though she's out by herself. And every man that's coming to the bar knows by nature that she's there to be hit on. And so they take their turns, each one. At least that's what they make it look like. That's what she makes it look like. Each man taking his turn to try to get her, to try to get the prize. To me, I'd have to spend a lot of time in bars. Bars would have to be my number one place to hang out for me to ever end up sitting next to a woman like that and saying, the time of day to her, or trying to get the time of day off her, because I think there's something sluttish about that to me. I don't like that. I don't like women who stand around waiting for guys to come and, I was taught in the church that we all need love. And so when we were young and we were in the church, we would take you can call her the ugliest woman or the one that was the most plain Jane, and we would dress her up and put her in a nice dress and that, and say, hey, we going out. And we would all take her out and that and see what would happen. But now I'm thinking, see what would happen about what? Like, it's vanity to me to think that, okay, if a woman desires love and sex and marriage, put her in a dress and just put her out there and some man will grab her. But she has to like him. He has to be her type. And if he says certain things, if he can make her laugh, then you know, a lot of times he's the man because he can make her laugh. Or if he says something that makes her talk about something other than herself. Like a man, any man, I can do it. Any man can do it. Any man can get a woman to talk about herself. That's easy. Okay? No conversation at all will make a woman talk about herself. But a man can get a woman to talk about, I don't know, this picture on the wall. I remember one time, you know, my friends, back in the day used to try to tell me how to have confidence and, around women, and I'm thinking confidence is stupid, okay? And I had confidence, and what do I get? And you know what? I go out there and I show confidence, and I get the girl that I don't want. The one that I wanted looked at me like, "Oh, are you trying to have confidence?" You know what I mean? But I get the one I don't want. And I barely said anything. Except, maybe I accidentally spilled my drink, or I accidentally, and she thought that was a turn on because I accidentally spilled a little bit of my drink on myself or something like that. I don't get it. I never got it. But a lot of my friends, back in the day, some of them could walk into a room of women, and he's definitely going to get a phone number. He's definitely going to end up talking or making somebody laugh. I've had friends where they walk into a room, women will stop him. Excuse me. Anything to get him to talk to them or something, Then I've had other friends where, the very thing that you would think that would get him slapped actually got him the date. And the very thing for some friends that would make them, be so embarrassed for themselves. Okay. The most embarrassing thing about themselves got them a date. Okay. Now, this is the question though. There's a lot of sexual promiscuity going on out there. And these people aren't going from meeting each other in the bar and then getting married. Now, I have friends and ex-friends who've met women in bars. They're not together with these women anymore. And yeah, they spent some time with these women, had children with these women, thought they was going to get married, and it didn't happen. Okay? And coming up in the church, I was taught that you have morality foremost and above all. Foremost and above all is first, morality. It doesn't matter. If you go out to the right place. If you go out, you go to an innocent place. Okay? Number one. Number two, it didn't matter what you look like. The pretty women and the pretty men got to do the same thing that the plain Janes got to do. Okay? Or the plain Jims got to do. We got to do the same thing. We're all on the same page here. Morality comes first. You're not going to go out there with your cleavage showing. You're not going to go out there, men as well with clothing missing. You're not going to walk in a bar with no shirt on. Okay? You're not going to show off your muscles. That's for your wife. You're not going to show off your cleavage. That's for your husband. Okay? That's the rule. But who's following that rule? Okay? And then the next thing was, again, we're still in morality mode because morality is everything. So, no, we're not going to the bar. Might go to the restaurant that has a bar in it, but we're not going to a straight bar. And we're not going to a club. Okay. I ran into a girl that I used to go to Bible study with years ago when I was in Job Corps. I went into a nightclub, and I found out that they have a teenage section of the nightclub. And I seen a dozen girls there purposely getting on stage so that men could see their underwear while they're dancing. And so just as I was about to leave, I seen a girl that I was attracted to, my age. Seen a girl that I was attracted to, okay, at the club. And I'm thinking, I know why I'm here. I'm here because I'm living in sin. I'm a sinner. Why are you here? And she wasn't there looking for me. She looked at me and she saw me, and it was like two people. It was like two cops looking at each other. Like we both got busted being dirty cops. No date. We forgot that, oh, I'm attracted to you and you appreciate that I'm attracted to you. And she was doing the same thing I was doing. She was like in the land of decision where it's like she's not dancing, she's watching everybody else dance, just like I was doing. She was just sitting there on the stage, everybody dancing around her. I seen guys trying to talk to her and all like that, and she'd get up there and dance with them for a minute, and then they would get all nasty with it, and so she would go and sit back down, you know. Finally, she went out the back door, I went out the front. Okay, no, her and I didn't talk. But we seen each other again at Bible study the following week. But coming up in church, morality. You dress right, you go out to the right place. Now, once you dressed right and went out to the right place, which there was always, you know, people are always different around their non-Christian friends than they were around their church friends. You know, you get around church friends, you might put on the right dress because, you know, you're part of the club, you're part of the team. But then when the team ain't around and you want to go hang out with your other team, these secular people, and, you know, you do the cleavage things. And you did go out, you did meet men, women, you did meet men, and you did get pregnant with somebody's kid, and you came back to church and people are wondering how you get pregnant. You don't do nothing. You don't go out. You don't, you know. The next thing I want to say, before I close that part of it, I want to say this too. Again, it didn't matter whether you were a little bit chubby, too dark, mellow yellow, you know what I mean? You look like a walking banana, okay? Everybody needed love. Everybody needed love, sex, and eventually marriage. Or should I say, love, marriage, and sex. That's the order it goes in. Everybody needed love, marriage, and sex. Love, marriage, and sex. That's the order. Love, marriage, and sex. Everybody wanted that. Everybody needed that. But yet, no one was willing to wait on that. And many of us knew that, who are we kidding? Are we marriage material? Or is she ready to submit to a man? Is he ready to be responsible for a woman? So here in this day and time, women expect men to see them sitting in a bar with their friends even, and walk right up between them and their friends and start talking. Make a fool out of myself and take the chance of being laughed at and mocked. And maybe not only by women, but men that are in a place like a bar. You know, we know the stories about guys that were bullied in high school that never ever overcame that. They turned out to be prison bait. They turned out to be in prison. They never got over that. The way they were bullied in school, you know. They wanted to date the pretty girls like all the other guys did, but they didn't play football. They didn't play basketball. They might have played a different sport. Okay, they might have played something that didn't sell tickets and pack out stadiums or something, you know, or pack out high schools on a weekend, you know, high school gymnasiums or something, you know, they played something else, or they were student council or something that doesn't get them dates, unless it's a nerd dating a nerd. Dating a nerdette or a nerdie or something. Okay. But the other thing is, where do we decide that to put love before everything else? How do we get past using all that hype, which gets us all in trouble, to get to the real love issue? Because we know before we sit alone in a bar or sit in a bar with our friends, okay, and a lot of women and men will go out and have sex, okay, with someone that they're never ever going to do anything but have sex with. I've seen people come to church and come to church with his wife and pull me to the side and say, "Hey D, you know, see that woman over there that's sitting on the far right corner, far right, all the way against the wall, front row seat? Yeah, me and her, we did a little thing one time." "What do you mean you did a little thing?" We slept together." I said, "Well, you better make sure your wife don't, you know, catch wind of that, or," well, I don't think she would say anything to my wife or even approach me while I'm with my wife. I'm thinking, well, what are you worried about then? Your wife knows that you got a pass, right? You know? "Yeah, but my wife don't know about her, you know." "Yeah, but that was before you and your wife hooked up, right?" "Yeah, but," well, but I can understand his fear, because there are men that get together with women just for sex, and they don't even bother to talk about it unless it's that time of the week, unless it's that weekend or something, and then they'll let you know they're going out, and if they sleep with somebody, you know, and a lot of times they don't care if it's another woman's, you know, if a man sleeps with my wife, it's my fault. It's always my fault. Man sleep with your wife, it's your fault. Not her fault. Not his fault. It's your fault. Because what was I doing that my wife didn't want to be home with me? She wanted to go out by herself. But my wife knew before, and I'm not saying that I've been through this because I haven't. My wife took me to a club one time, my ex-wife that is. She took me to a club one time. She vowed she'll never take me to a club again. And she knew that after we left that club, she'd go by herself. When she get home, I won't be home. I won't be there. She knew that. She knew that. So, but you got guys that were very honest about their sexual promiscuousness, and you got women that don't want to be defined as being sexually promiscuous, but they also laugh at it when they get caught. You know, when you start, you know. Well, actually, they get offended. Some laugh, but most get offended that you would ever be honest with them about what they're honestly doing, or that you would know, or that you would look surprised. Why you got that surprising look on your face? They get a little aggravated with that. But my point in all this is talking about this is, you know, how do you get past all the sexual promiscuousness, get past all the hype, pretty girls, pretty boys, guys knowing how to go up to girls and say whatever needs to be said to get that booty, you know what I'm saying? All the different things that could possibly, and see, to me, God did not create us for it to be that difficult or that easy. Now, to me, there's a culture of females out there, especially females, not in the United States, in other countries. You may call these third world countries or whatever, but men have to be men by personality to actually go to second base with women. You've heard of the passport bros, and well, there's two types of passport bros. I did a video on it on this channel, I think. There's two kinds of passport bros. One is a liar. He'll sit there and say he's going down there to meet a traditional woman and all like that and get married. He's very young. No, he's going down there because his hormones are out of control, and he found out that, he found out that getting booty is easy because he's an American. And they treat Americans like kings. American men, that is, like kings in these nations, okay? The other one is an older gentleman who he knows that if he gets a young girl that's 20, 30 years younger than him to be his girlfriend, and they find this easy too, especially when they flash in money. That's something to hold on to. That's something to move to the Philippines for. Okay? And a lot of old men do it, and they come back sad because, the Filipinos, or the Filipinas, I should say, that took the old man that don't know how to smell good and look good in his old age. That's all he had to do was look good, smell good, and have a nice smile. Okay? Well, actually, that Filipino's already been taken. That's looking for an old fart that makes himself look like he's not an old fart. Okay? But what I'm finding out is that short people like myself, it don't matter how old or how young you are, if you're old enough to be 6 feet tall and you ain't 6 feet tall. Okay? Now, that's not saying that, I was married, my wife was taller than me. And she came after me. We're divorced, so I don't know. But she came after me. And we got 2 kids together. Okay? Plus her 2 from previous relationship. But she came after me. And I wasn't even really looking at her that way until we started sleeping together. But she was just a lady to me, a lady that I work with, and she came after me. She's almost 6 feet tall. I'm 5'3.5". And men that are 5'5" are having the same problem. I wouldn't call it a problem. I just say we don't get picked. That's the other thing. Are the men going out there and simping these women and picking these women because they got balls? Or are the women picking them? I think anytime a woman can go through 100 men in one night and ain't went home with 100 of them, she went home with 101. I would say the woman's actually picking the guys. Guys don't pick women. Guys pick all women, and they're lucky to have one that's pretty enough that all his friends go, "Wow, dude, you lucky dude," But it's the women that pick the men. But in the Bible, and in the life that I was taught coming up in the church, it's the men that pick the women. It's the man that goes out and finds a wife and receives honor from the Lord. But it's not like that when you get dressed up and go to a bar. It's not like that when you, and like, how do we get past? I was taught that what you want is what you act out. You want a moral marriage to where mom and dad are going to raise kids in the church, raise their kids to be moral, devout boys and girls, and men and women, go to college and all like that. There's a way you carry yourself in your love life, in your date life. There's a way you carry yourself so that you hook up with the right people. But you see pictures on the wall, you see video footage, YouTube footage of men and women that just love each other. And if they really, really do love each other, how did they get to that point? And a lot of times you could save yourself a lot of nonsense. And this is the thing. When I was doing security, there were times that a girl would run to my place of business because some dude that she was dating was mad at her and ready to hit her. And we thought she was the perpetrator. She was. Because she did play the game. Sat there alone in a bar somewhere or something, or went to a nightclub, and she met this dude while she was with her friends. Her friends know this dude. She come back later on the following weekend or a few days later or whatever. She looks for this guy because he, and she said, "Oh, I'm free now. I give you a chance, And the next thing you know, they go through one night date. Then they go on a second date. No, their first date. It was their first date. Yeah, it was their first date. They had talked for a while before they went on a date, but they were meeting each other in bars, okay? They were talking to each other. I had to ask the woman, "How you meet this guy?" And I knew that this had to be either be a first or second date. It was actually a first date. He come running in there looking for her. And she was hiding behind us because she was afraid of the dude. And so even though they were both intoxicated, she looked like she's a little bit more intoxicated than he was. She accused him of taking her phone. And he swore to God that he didn't have her phone. Well, when the police arrived, because instead of him just taking her phone and running, you screwed up, buddy. It's time for you to leave the city. It's time for you to go back to your hotel, back to your home, or wherever you come from. Well, no, he came back in there looking for her, with her phone in his pocket. And the police caught him right there when he came back looking for her. Because what he wanted to do was he wanted to threaten her. And if she played nicely, he'll give her phone back. He took her phone to discipline her because she was being a lousy date. She's calling people while they were out together. Maybe, I don't know, talking to other guys on her phone or something. And I mean, this is their first initial date. They had been talking for a while, but this was their first initial date. And already they're having domestic violence. Okay? And so he came back looking for her, and the police grabbed him right there. And he did have her phone. And I just wanted to punch the dude because he had me convinced that this woman, because she's a little bit more intoxicated than he was, he had me convinced that she was the weak link. Because okay, you're kind of drunk, lady. You don't know what you're doing. You know. No, he was the bad guy. He was the bad guy. He ended up getting arrested. Well, I knew he was a bad guy because he came in there looking for her. Why are you coming in there looking for her? You had a lousy date. She wanted to get away from you. Let her get her own way home. That's what I do. If you know, I take a woman out somewhere and she treats me lousy or whatever, the first thing I do, I'll leave you there. Bye. Find your own way home. You know. Find your own way home. But in closing, I don't know why y'all do it. I don't understand it. We live in a world today where people think that they can judge God's creation. It is God that has made me 5'3". Sure. It's genetic, but you know, my dad was tall, my mom was short. I got my mom's height. Okay. Matter of fact, if my mom hadn't got sick, she would have been taller than me too. My mom got sick, that's why she became short. I mean, I think my mom was 5'2" when she died. I'm 5'3". But when she graduated from high school, she was like, I think at least 5'5". 5'5", 5'4", somewhere in there. And you know, it's just horrible the way we judge people. But we don't want to be judged. Everybody deserves love, marriage, and sex. Everybody. if you don't want it, then you should make sure you find and connect with people that don't want it. Don't use people that want it for your own pleasure when you knew that that's what they wanted. You know, you met a woman and you knew that she was looking to eventually get married, be the kind of person that's going to get married and eventually have children. But you used her for your personal, for you to, on your personal feelings, to get your nuts off. And women do it to men too. Women want a certain kind of man. At least that's what they think. And see, biblically, women are supposed to be gullible because they're supposed to let the man be the brains for them. Women aren't supposed to be out there trying to figure out what's a good man, what's a bad man, and what man is, they're not supposed to be out there trying to manipulate men. They're supposed to look for a man and want his status. A woman searches for a man that she might have status. And if a woman be honest, it's really not going to be about his looks. There may be some things like, she wants a man that she can have to tilt her head back to look up to him, to look into his eyes a little bit. That's fine. She may want a man that seems to be strong. She might want a man that seems to be financially set in his ways. That's fine. But to judge a man based upon his walk into the room, or because he's funny, like men that ain't funny are not men, or because he has a way of saying things to women like men that don't have a way of saying things to women aren't men, it just irks me. It's just so unhuman, because God didn't make us all to be able to make women laugh. God did not make us all to be to manipulate women by saying certain things to them. The simp women, God didn't make us all tall. God didn't make us all born with muscles. Some of us got to actually go work out to look good. Okay? I mean, you think I look like, an old fart right here. If I didn't work out a little bit, I'd really look like a slab of ham. I work out. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to do my dumbbell workout as soon as I get off this computer. I'm telling you. But, we all do things. We're all trying to survive, and some of y'all got the nerve to be judging. Only God gets to judge people. And if you think that you can go out and judge people, you're not ready for love. You might be ready to have sex and pay child support. You might be ready to spend money just to be seen with certain women. But the Bible says that sex is for married people and marriage is for Christians. Sex is for married people and marriage is for Christians. Okay? And God help you if you're out there in that dating game. That's what I call it, a dating game. And you got the nerve, like this cat that got arrested, coming there angry. Dude, you got played. because you was trying to simp this woman, and she finally said yes after you not knowing how to give in. When he told me when I was walking him off the property, he said, and he came back and got arrested by the police, but I escorted him my property, and he said, I don't know how I got hooked up with this girl. We just met at the bar, we was talking, and I told her, I asked her if it was okay, we go out, blah, 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 blah. Do you have her phone, sir? Brother, I swear to God I ain't got her phone. You swear to God you ain't got her phone. She just wants her phone so she can call and get a ride out of here. You sure you don't have her phone? I don't have her. Brother, I ain't got her phone. Okay? But he came back looking for her. Because his whole point of having her phone was so that she couldn't leave him. So, this is the craziness that happens in the date world. This guy only been on a date with this girl one time, and now he's got her phone. He got her stranded downtown. He don't want to let her leave and go anywhere. Okay? And he dated a woman that got more money than him, obviously. She looked like I could tell from some of the IDs in her purse and stuff that she had a decent job. But yet, she was a lonely woman. And she got caught up with this dude. When I see YouTube videos or photos of couples, you look at this couple and you say they gotta be in love. They gotta be in love. But you forget that Hollywood actors make money because they know how to play the part. They know how to do their role in the movie. Two people kissing and sucking on each other like they found their number one. They found their soulmate. Nobody loves like they love each other. But yet, it's some of the ones that share the most slobber and have the most sex the most many times a day or all day long, every day, 6 days out of the week, whatever, that end up broken up. They end up having a horrible... me and my ex-wife, we had a good sex life. As long as we don't speak to each other. We had a great sex life. But the minute we try to do anything other than have sex, we were not compatible. We were not compatible. And I'm just trying to spare, I guess, those out there, because as much as I want to blame myself and blame God that I'm 5'3", and I'm a little bit lonely, just a little bit, until I really think about the moral code of it all. Then I'm like, no, I'm not lonely. Listening to this 46-year-old woman, I'm 58. This woman's 46. And she acts like that. No, I'm not lonely when I see a 46-year-old woman act like a teenager. And what? She's pretty enough to act like a teenager? There's no such thing. Maturity, even for a teenager, is top notch. That's to be desired. Even God desires you. God himself desires anybody, a little baby, to be mature. There's nothing wrong. Nobody's too old for maturity. Or nobody's too young for maturity, I should say. what you're too young for, if you are mature, is to be opening up your legs, okay, is for women to try to keep up with men, and men try to come down to women's level or act like beta males. Okay, you know, and I'm not saying men are on a high level in, you know, personality and you know, humanism, or so to speak, but I'm just saying that men try to talk about a woman about stuff that a woman talks about that men don't care about, is what I'm talking about. And sometimes it works, but it doesn't make you a good couple. It makes you, you know, women don't understand. These men go out of their way to simp, and later on, what's going to happen? He don't want to talk to you. He want to sleep with you, but he don't want to talk to you. And he don't want to hear you venting. So you find out, after all he did, and he finally got in your pants, now you realize you and him don't have anything in common. You don't have chemistry. After you had chemistry, when he got in your pants, he's like, way he talks, yeah, he got me. And now that he actually got you, he'll never talk that way ever again. Should I be jealous that I'm in the house, stuck in the house? You know that Usher song, you got it bad. Not me. I got Jesus. Okay? Sometimes Jesus is boring. Okay, I'll be honest. But I don't want to be, I've been that guy before. I don't want to be that guy that's always getting played. If I get played 10 times and you tell me 1 out of 10 times I get to meet the girl that I lost quickly, no, sorry, I'm not into that. Sex is for married people, and marriage is for Christians. Okay? That's the best way I can explain everything I took 50 minutes to talk about. Thank you for watching.